G'day guys and gal. There is a lot of confusion regarding what the Chaos Gods actually are. Are they just massive versions of their own greater demons? Are they intangible concepts and emotions given sentience? Are they even actually real? Well, to save you guys and gals some research, a lot of 40k lore writers have different interpretations. However, the Chaos Gods are real, and if they so choose, can materialize in a physical, tangible form and even directly speak, with each Chaos God looking more or less like a more spicy version of their greater demons, except Titsnitch. No idea what that dude looks like. However, on the rare occasion that the Chaos Gods pull their massive sentience together to talk, what do they actually say? Well, you lazy brain-rotted kids, this isn't TikTok. You gotta hang out with me for the next 10 minutes or so. Before we get started, my number one tip for losing fat and gaining muscle or just being healthy is to find the lowest effort things you can do to improve your health. The best example of that being today's sponsor, Factor. Factor is a service that sends you weekly delicious microwave meals that are very well macroed, not just for fat loss, but also for muscle building. This is amazing for convenience, as it literally takes 2 minutes to prepare a great meal and less than that to clean it up. Time is a commodity, and anything you can do to save it is a win. The thing that really sets Factor apart from all the other microwave meals is that firstly, Factor meals are never frozen, so you get that awesome fresh taste. But even better than that, Factor sends you different meals each week. Meals you can choose yourself or just leave it up to Factor, meaning you will never get sick of them. To make it even more convenient, you can even choose the type of meals you want. Maybe low calorie, high protein, vegetarian, keto, the choice is yours. What's the catch, Majorkill? There's literally none. Does it cost an arm and a leg? No. Using my link and code POGMAJORDES50, you'll get 50% off your first box and free shipping. With that kind of offer, there's no reason not to at least give it a go, and if you don't like it, then you can cancel at any time. Cheers to Factor for sponsoring this video. Today we'll go over each of the times the Chaos Gods have directly spoken, either to their underlings or even the mortals that they wish to use and abuse. Let's get into it. We will start with a more low-key example and work our way up. When Talos, a legendary Night Lord character, met with Abaddon, Abaddon saw him as a rival and wished to force his corruption to chaos in order to knock him down a peg. Talos also called Abaddon a fucking retard, which also probably didn't help. Abaddon shot Talos and then got a Night Lord sorcerer to flood him with war power, beseeching the Chaos God's attention in the process to attempt to corrupt Talos. Each of the 4 ruinous powers spared a small sliver of their attention to see Talos and speak with him. They each manifested as a different version of Talos. That was evident by the type of corruption upon them. Firstly, Slaanesh tried to corrupt him by showing him as a legendary warlord, praised by many as their chosen one. However, Talos thought that was cringe, so he told Slaanesh to fuck off. Slaanesh did leave, but only after taunting Talos that his best mate Syrian was slowly falling to her. Next up, Titsnitch tried, using Talos's own visage, showing him what power he could receive from serving the Changer of Ways. However, once again, Talos told him to suck eggs. Nurgle actually had no interest in Talos. He took the form of a plague marine version of the Night Lord, however he merely told them that his attention was called by the sorcerer, but he would never accept Talos, even if Talos wanted to join him. Nurgle then departed. Last, it was Khorne. Talos told him he wasn't interested, so Khorne taunted him that another one of his squad mates was slowly falling to Khorne at corruption, before then kicking Talos in the balls before leaving. Because Khorne is just kind of like that. Even though these were only slivers of their god, they were still very much the god, telling Talos as such and speaking with him directly. A very in-depth scene featuring the speaking of a Chaos God was when Titsnitch and his court of chosen demons gathered to discuss the fate of Ahriman. Ahriman had been an interesting servant. He was always seeking ways to break free from Titsnitch's influence and never actually praised or worshipped his patron god. However, Titsnitch found this cute and also found it fun to manipulate Ahriman to achieve his goals regardless. However, now his use had come to an end. The various demons were shouting contradicting paradoxes of ideas on how to deal with Ahriman, but then Titsnitch, arriving in the form of a gigantic floating mass of teeth, eyes, claws and mouths, spoke directly in every language in the universe at once, saying that Ahriman had served them well, so it was time to give him his reward. Titsnitch then ordered the Changeling to go kill Ahriman, because Chaos really sucks at rewarding people. In a similar scene, Titsnitch once spoke directly to a large army of his demons about the plans he was formulating. However, the force and power of his speech caused a shitload of the lesser demons to be blown away and banished, with only the strongest surviving to hear what Titsnitch was saying. Coming back to the first point, although Titsnitch has spoken about Ahriman a couple times, on one time he actually spoke to him. He appeared in his dreams as a raven, but more so just to taunt with and fuck around with him than actually saying anything meaningful. Funnily enough, the last example of Titsnitch speaking also involved Ahriman. When Ahriman did his rubric to try stop the flesh change, which in turn made most of the Thousand Sons Legion a bunch of dusty boys, Magnus came to kill his ass. After a pretty one-sided duel, Magnus prepared to kill his wayward son, but Titsnich was like, "No you fucking don't, Magnus, Ahriman is my favourite toy," forcing Magnus to spare his naughty boy. Speaking of the god of schemes, I have actually lied to you. There is one more instance of Titsnich speaking that doesn't actually involve Ahriman. I mean, him being this chatty makes sense. What's the point in having a million fucking mouths if you aren't going to speak? The whole plotline of Magnus doing something very wrong was directly caused by the manipulation of Titsnich, with the Chaos God appearing to Magnus on multiple occasions in various guises, directly speaking with Magnus to get him to breach the Emperor's webway as well as accept his bargain to teleport to the planet of sorcerers. It is ironic that despite Titsnich having the least coherent, understandable, tangible form, he speaks the most by far. In saying that though, Slaanesh is very chatty, being the egomaniac that it is. In the Liber Chaotica book, a book that came out nearly 20 years ago, Games Workshop basically tried to explain chaos and probably went a bit too hard with the details, sort of demystifying chaos, as well as linking 40k to fantasy. I'm all here for that though, makes my job easier, but I can see why people are a bit iffy on it, especially since it literally gave us a canon picture of Khorne, showing that the Chaos Gods were very much these tangible sentient beings. But on to Slaanesh now. In the Dark Prince's domain, thousands upon thousands of souls had gathered, so Slaanesh manifested itself as a large, tall, attractive man with a white cloudy cloak, as well as a crown. He then started rizzing the fuck out of all the lost souls, with many of them falling to their knees in praise. For those that fell down to their knees, Slaanesh consumed all their souls as they were too weak to be of any real use other than just a snack. He then commanded those who were strong of will enough to remain standing to go out into the galaxy and spread his influence, through art, passion, creativity, drugs, hectic anal sex and whatnot. He basically corrupted the tits out of a shitload of people in one go, which is pretty damn efficient. Funnily enough, I, and many others, see Slaanesh in a pretty feminine light. Slaanesh's demons are more female leaning, and with the other three Chaos Gods being quite masculine, it would balance it out having a bit more of a female Slaanesh. However, in this instance, it clearly referred to him as a male alongside his main title being the Prince, not Princess, of Pleasure. In another instance of Slaanesh being chatty, he or she or whatever the fuck, let's just say she, directly possessed a word bearer so she could mess with some Dark Elder. The Dark Elder had captured a word bearer Dark Apostle, one of their elite Psycho warlords. Slaanesh possessed the Apostle and told the Apostle not to resist her and let her in. He did so, which made the Apostle overpowered as hell. Slaanesh then started taunting the Elder, telling them how their souls were hers, literally speaking with her god voice through the Dark Apostle, which was pretty cool. Then a bunch of demonettes spawned in and that's all she wrote. It's rare that you get such direct contact with a Chaos God or literally speak with their voice. For Khorne, as you can imagine, he's not exactly the chatting type. When he found out that Guilliman had returned, he had a massive tantrum. Not so much speaking, however he made it clear that the resurrection of the Avenging Sun was super AIDS. He especially got angry at his dumb shit Chaos God brothers who he knew would try corrupt G-Man instead of killing him. Hence Khorne decreed that all of his servants would kill Guilliman on sight. No mercy, no corruption, only his skull. This next example isn't so much Khorne talking as I've said, he's not super chatty, but his whole interaction with Skarbrand was pretty bloody tangible, so worth mentioning. Skarbrand, who's kind of advertised as Khorne's grandest champion, but is literally just a punching bag for other characters if GW thinks they need a cheeky ball tickle, once got so angry that he attacked Khorne himself. To be fair, it was Titsnich low-key manipulating Skarbrand, but either way, Khorne got so angry that his new slick shiny armor now had a tiny dent in it, so he picked up Skarbrand, throttled him so hard that Skarbrand went insane, or even more insane because how cooked you have to be to try smack Khorne, and then he threw him across the Chaos Realms. Skarbrand became a rage-fueled meteor that flew for over 8 days before crashing down. While the lore doesn't tell us what Khorne said during the throttling and follow up a mega throw, I can imagine he was calling Skarbrand a bitch over and over for basically trying to king hit Khorne when Khorne wasn't paying attention. Like Khorne, Nurgle isn't super chatty, but when the time is important, the big smelly fat piece of shit will speak. The best example is when he corrupted Mortarion and turned him into a stinky Mothman. Mortarion and his Death Guard have been tricked into entering Nurgle's realm by typhus. The disease and pestilence they endured was obscene, with even the hardy Death Guard dying horrifically to it. Eventually, Mortarion's resolve broke, at which point Nurgle spoke to him directly, and boy, it was direct. Nurgle doesn't fuck around. He literally said, "Swear your loyalty to me. Give your fealty to the grandfather." He didn't try and manipulate like Titsnich would or bribe and coerce like Slaanesh would. It was legitimately your legion is dying horrifically, join me and they will stop dying horrifically. One thing you have to respect about Nurgle is what you see is what you get. You won't get swindled into things, or at least not as often as Slaanesh or Titsnich. Morty accepted Nurgle's offer, which in turn made him ascend to his status as a demon prince. I do want to make a point that the Chaos Gods are actually pretty lazy. If they can avoid speaking, they will. In most instances, when they want to make a point, they will simply manifest as a massive terrifying eye. eye. When Nurgle was mad at Morty for failing to take out Gilliman, he just turned into a massive eye and gave Morty the dirtiest look. Similar thing happened with Slaanesh and Fabius Bile. Slaanesh was getting kind of sick of Fabius playing hard to get, so she physically manifested as a huge eye. Fabius was absolutely rocked with the corrupting pool, but he was still able to resist her despite her direct gaze. I'm sure there are a few other nuggets floating around here and there, so if so, slap them in the comments below. But I think we've discussed enough to understand more about the true nature of the Chaos Gods and how they are more than just swirls of negative emotion, with them having the ability to literally manifest as a mortal. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then subscribe. It's free, easy, and Slaanesh will literally clap those cheeks for free if you do. I know what you like. Join the Discord for more memes and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.